nitaendelea tu kuambia introduce na nini.
Welcome back. This is indeed News Check, and as I had alluded to, is that now we are shifting focus to education matters. We are looking at the progress of the education calendar. Of course, the COVID-19 pandemic disrupted everything, including education. And George Mugo, karibu sana.
Asante.
Yeah.
Asante, Mr. Troy.
First things first. What do you make of CS Magoha mop-up exercise?
I like. First of all, of course, let me say, my parents taught me, do not antagonize the incumbent authority on what they're doing. So I really like to appreciate CS Magoha for what he's doing in this team. I like the way he's talked about the percentages, 100% transition and things like that. That's what I've had on the clip, right? However, based on where I am right now, like I've invested in the education industry for over about, opened my school in 1999. So it's quite, I've seen the transitions all along, right? There's one thing that has changed this whole dynamics, of education: quality. All right, you can have 100% transition wherever, okay, but the quality is not there, or it's actually non-existing. Okay, for example, I hail from Kajiado County, Kajiado North constituency, Olkeri Ward, and we have a couple of schools there, of course, public and private. All right, the school that I run, in a class, you find we have about 30 to 35, all right? A good number whereby teachers and pupils can be able to interact very well. But then you go to another school in the same county, the same class, you find the same, like now, for example, if we take an example of grade 1, you find grade 1, in my place, we have about 30 to 35. Of course, I cannot compare per se, but then when you go to the public school, you find there about 80 to 100 in a class. How do you quantize the quality? How do you match the quality? How do you bring out the quality? All right. So yes, they're doing a good job, but the quality aspect is a problem. And you see, as a matter, there's this guy called, of course, not this guy per se, Nelson Mandela. He said, education is the most powerful weapon that you will use to be able to change a society, right? And it must be done in a quality way. You have to invest it nicely, all right? You have to put resources in it and make it look, make it come out very, very strongly, all right? But then when that is not there, yes, we have, like I was taking my son to high school in the first week of August, all right? I took him to a school in Ruiru, and the class, the Form 1 class, yes, it's a private school, the Form 1 class has got about 20 to 25. In other schools, we went to tour in Embu, you find a class has got about 600 intakes. How do you match that? How do you quantize that, right? So yes, it's good, 100% transition. The PR is good. Yes,
and still on the same, of course, Kajiado, he had earlier released some of the counties that are not quite doing very well when it comes to 100% transition, and looking at some of the ESO region, the arid and semi-arid regions, of course, very, very, very dismal performances. Even in national examination, what more could be done? They introduced even the school feeding programs. What more can be done? And especially, we've talked about Kajiado. Of course, part of Kajiado is quite developed and other is quite marginalized.
Let me tell you, Troy, having the experience that I've had, okay, of course, in school we'll deal a lot with politics, pupil politics, parent politics, teacher politics. There's one thing I've come to realize where I sit: separate between management and education. If a school is a school, let the core business be the school, all right? And let other things be dealt with a separate team, which is a management team. That way, you'll be able to improve the quality. For example, why do you have a principal in a public school? yeah, then you've assigned that principal about 3 million, and this is not in a bad way, okay, I'm just putting facts on the table. You assign this guy about 3 million bob, okay, for each of the pupils, okay. How do you expect that guy? He does not have training in management. He does not have training in resources per se. He does not have training in cash flow and things like that, how to do balance sheets and etc. How do you assign him that amount of money and expect him to perform? He won't. He won't. And that's why, allow me to probably digress a little bit. There's this CS, I think Wamalwa, he mentioned about the feeding program.
Yes.
I think it was about 2 weeks ago. He said in those areas where the drought is affecting so much, they have allocated about 500 million, all right?
And of course, that will actually also aid, because some of the schools we are seeing having feeding programs are registering a lot of good numbers of pupils in school.
Yes, which is good, yeah. And he's put about 100,000, I think it was about 100,000 families. So I was doing the math the other day, and I saw each family is getting 5,000 bob, okay? Now, how do you, if you have a separate management team, yeah, you can be able to manage that money better than allocating it to somebody individually or somebody who does not have training per se in handling matters cash, okay? It's just about management, period.
What is the current situation? You know, we have now Form 1s, a new crop of pupils joining Form 1s.
Yeah.
They insisted that schools, it's a good thing you have a school.
Yeah.
They have insisted that you have to observe the COVID-19 protocols. We've seen even some schools making makeshift houses to house perhaps some of the students as they better infrastructure. Perhaps the government should chip in making sure that at least we have better infrastructure. Now that we have COVID, things have to go on, but things have to go differently.
Yeah, I like that question. Let me approach it from this perspective. The President, Honorable Uhuru, he shut the economy, quote unquote, in March, was it last year, right? As a school, what did we do? We didn't just sit there. Okay, because it was shut down about March 15th. Yeah, we didn't just stay. Okay, we have established a studio, something like this. Okay, just but a bit smaller. Okay, where we were able to interact with our kids virtually.
Okay.
Yeah. What am I saying? The government can be able to invest more and put more attention in virtual schools, especially high school, virtual schools. You wait for the holiday, during the holiday season, you find every child has got a phone, most of them, and most of them are iPhones. What does that mean? It means they can be able to, they understand technology, they understand how it works. Yeah, like for us, we had all our kids had we got them enrolled in email, got them a Gmail, okay? And then of course we planned with their parents to have at least internet and things like that, yeah? So they'll be able to, a teacher will be able to come to school and be able to teach while in school virtually, okay? If we can be able to do that, if the government can give like attention to that, yes, it is 100%
like
transition.
Incentives, right?
Exactly, like an incentive. And in this case, they partner with private schools, okay? Because like now, I only have about 300 kids, okay? A school next, you'll find they have about 2,000, 3,000 kids. Why can't the government partner with me? I have the capacity, I have the resources to be able to reach out to some of the kids so that it decongests, okay? It decongests that 100% transition and introduce an aspect of quality.
Yeah.
Yes, and that the quality aspect makes it now more sustainable.
And still on quality, looking at the pupils or students from arid and semi-arid regions, and where you're talking about a class having over 100 pupils, remember the same examination, the same curriculum, but of course a different situation. how can we make it at least a little bit balanced for these students? Those ones are from arid and semi-arid regions, and these ones others from at least schools like Kirinyaga County, Kiambu County, which have been mentioned as one of the leading counties in terms of 100% absorption in schools.
Yeah, maybe let me answer that question this way, and forgive me for saying this. I'm aspiring to hopefully vie for a seat in Kajiado North constituency. And
MP?
Not MP, Member of Parliament. And one of the things that I was thinking about is, you see, we have the CDF fund, all right? Like currently, I think it has been, the Act allows about 138 million, okay? For such areas, increase that amount, all right? Once you increase that amount, get professionals, get a management team to go there and manage that cash. Why? Right now, we have Honorable Manje, whom I respect very much, and I like the way he is pro-education, okay? And he's given that fund, all right?
At least making sure students are
making
learning.
sure the students are learning, all right? Now, once he's given that fund, it is for him and his ideas and his team to be able to manage that fund, okay? Now, the more you give him that amount, the more probably classes he'll be able to build.
So you say that even it comes to, like, of course, the CDF as part of it goes to bursaries.
Yes.
You're saying more funds should be allocated into bursaries?
Yes, more funds should be allocated to bursaries. However, one of the things that I was thinking about, and it's one of my agendas, is maybe we tweak the bursary notation, connotation a bit.
But they've been actually, they have really helped. Yeah, sometimes we found that they don't land in the right hands. You saw a case study where a student who qualified and passed cannot access bursaries.
Let me explain to you what I'm thinking about, because I've issued, in my capacity, we've supported quite a couple of pupils. Like every year we support about a minimum of 14 on bursaries at my place. And of course, from a personal capacity, I have given some support to a few pupils here and there. And this is what we came up with a few friends of mine. We take the bursary giant or bursary thing, all right, let me call it thing, split it into two, and give it, or rather change its name, call it scholarships, okay? Scholarships, all right?
You're saying this now should be replicated in other forums, right?
Not necessarily replicated, just change the notion of bursary, because the first thing is, you see, like if you have a student and they want support, and you'll always have in mind that nitapewa bursary, okay? So you'll go to your member of parliament and get bursary, okay? But then if you think of it this way, make it like a scholarship thing, all right? Then separate the bursary into two aspects, okay? Number one, support a child based on performance, all right? Number two, separate it and then support a child based on the need. For example, if he comes from a single parent family, if they're supported by grandparents and things like that.
Kindly hold the thought, because Interior CES Dr. Fred Matiang'i has already arrived at Jumia Conference and County Home, and now is currently addressing the National Youth Conference. Let's first of all listen in before we come back to this discussion.
Okay. For me, through my sister and my colleague in government, our Principal Secretary for CBC and Reform, Professor Fatuma Chege. But I also came along with the young people we have in government, the ones that we work with. Because, as I will tell you shortly, there's nothing more powerful than the power of example, as it were. It's true that in certain cases in our society, young people give up. And ask me, I see this all the time. I have young police officers who graduate from college. We post them to difficult places, and when they encounter personal challenges, some of them we try hard, we help, some get discouraged and get frustrated. Maybe we haven't given them a good example, maybe we need to do more. But I am grateful to His Excellency, our President, because he decided that the message about youth participation in government is not going to be theoretical, he's going to make it practical. For the first time since independence, the last time we had young people in government, the likes of Dr. Julius Gikonyo Kiano, Stanley Matiba, at the beginning of this country, the president changed tune and brought young people to government so that we work with them, mentor them, so that we prepare ministers for tomorrow. And I brought 3 of them with me here so that you can see these people. Each one of them, and there are quite a number of people, I love them all and I love working with them. They're very energetic, they have good ideas, and always available to get some stuff done, which is the spirit of youth that we all really admire. So before I say something with your kind indulgence, I'll just donate 6 of my minutes so that I allow the 3 of them to take 2 minutes each to speak to you. I'm accompanied by Zach Kinuthia, who's going to be the first one to speak, our Assistant Minister for Sports and Culture. And I'll invite him to come over and greet you and say something to you young people who are here. After that, I'll invite my sister, my younger sister, who has become a poster child of successful youth participation in government, our very own Assistant Minister for Health, Dr. Mercy Mwangangi, who's here. And I'll finish by introducing our other Assistant Minister for Trade, Mr. David Osiani, the tomboy of this day. You know, young people who are in government, articulate, energetic, serving their country. And I'm doing this so that you can see, 1, that the president doesn't talk about it, he does it. 2, that it can actually happen. And we are all together. There is nothing like youth cannot do it. They can do it. They are doing it. Zach.
Thank you very much, Cabinet Secretary Interior, Chairman of the NCCK, Secretary General, and all the faithfuls this morning. Good morning. God is good, and all the time. Because I have 2 minutes and I have to be within the 2 minutes, please stand with me in the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 28. By the way, in my earlier life, I was an evangelist specializing in exorcism. Joel chapter 2, verse 28. And the Bible says, "And it shall come to pass afterwards that I will pour out my spirit upon all the flesh."
That is youth CS Zach Kinuthia there, starting with, of course, a funny one. But anyway, the youth conference being held at Jumia, and of course being officiated by Interior CS Dr. Fred Matiang'i, just being able to pick out a few young CSs, and also Kenyan said, "Youth, you can make it." We will be getting back to get his sentiments on the same in that conference, but we are headed back to our conversation where we are discussing the progress of education, and especially in the COVID-19 pandemic. And I'm joined by George Mugo, who is an educationist, and of course before we crossed over to the Jumia, you were talking about bursaries. Kindly, you can wrap up on the same.
Yes, so I was saying we take, when the bursary kitty comes, and when the member of parliament is allocating, like what I would plan to do. Let me not talk on the incumbent on what he has done,
yes,
but let me talk on what I would do.
Yes.
All right, I would have that kitty in 2 aspects. Performance-based and need-based. Performance-based is, for example, you have your daughter. Your daughter has gotten A in KCPE, or your daughter has gotten in the national exam, your daughter has gotten maybe C-, all right, and things like that. And you may not necessarily have that background of financial muscle, okay? So you come and apply for bursary. I give you based on your performance. If you get A, if you have an A, then you get 100%. Not even you get
the same way like we have some institutions
exactly.
like
wings to fly. Perfect.
Okay.
Something like that.
Yes.
Okay. And we did that once in 2015. There's one girl who was given just a full percent scholarship. So that because lately when I go on ground, people tell me, oh, we've been given 3,000 bob, we've been given 5,000 bob, and it doesn't work. It's not sustainable. Okay. The second part is need-based, and this is now where we come and say, are you a single father? Are you struggling? Okay. This is what we can give you. Are you a single mother? This is what we can give you. Are you supporting? Is your parents? The orphans, grandparents, things like that. That is not now the need based. Okay, and at the end of the day, it has to be scholarship based, whereby when you get into Form 1, we support you until you finish.
Okay.
Yes.
And let's now look at the progress. Of course, the COVID-19 pandemic is still with us, and it looks like it's going to be here for a while. But the school calendar had to be tweaked in a way that it would accommodate each and everyone when it comes to education matters. Now, beginning today, they're having the half term.
Yes, tomorrow.
It's tomorrow.
26th,
okay. Yes, from tomorrow they will be at home.
Yes.
And you know very well that they could. We had a school in Makueni which had registered almost 40 students who had COVID. Remember, now they are coming home in the middle of a pandemic. The government hasn't said anything yet, but of course they are going to come back. How do we ensure that they don't pick up the virus and bring it back to school? And what measure, as an educationist and a person, a proprietor with a school, what measures perhaps have you put in? Some can pick some few notes.
Okay, okay. Good, thank you. Of course, we have done the normal protocols that the CS of Health has advised, and the Ministry of Health. That one we are on point. Washing of hands, masks, temperature in the buses, and all that. Yeah. Another thing we have done, as at, when is today? We are on Wednesday. As at Monday, all my teachers were vaccinated. Okay, all of them. Yeah, so at least that one I'm good. I know we are good on that. All right, but probably this on this other part, because it's still let me say, quote unquote, and not in a bad way, it's still an experiment in the making. Okay, it would be good probably to have the kids tested randomly. You see the way we see every day the figures 1,000, something like that. Yeah, so we have the team that does that testing to go. Maybe in fact the CS can establish another team to focus on schools only. Yeah, no, like we have. Down here we have the number. I usually see when you guys put the captions. Okay, so down there we have, instead of total number of adults, oh, this is touch screen, sorry.
Yes.
Total number of adults and total number of children. We have total number of students. Okay. Who have contracted of it, and then now from there it is more easier to manage. Usually it is easier from my perspective when you know the numbers, then you're able to manage them well. Again, going back to management. Yes.
And of course, CS Magoha, in his efforts, and he talked about all the counties, at least we are over 50%, not even 50%. Some counties are registering 100% transition. And there are challenges. Should we perhaps divert more resources to counties, mostly the ASL, as he has mentioned?
Yes. Let me answer that in two parts. Yeah. Yes, we should, and yes, we can. Okay, divert. But then, how are those funds being used? All right. Now, let's go on ground. Let's just do a simulation and go on ground. I'm an electrical engineer by profession, and I graduated from Mugo University, then took a master's at Daystar University, though I have not defended yet. I did it in mass communication. And one of the experiences that I had when I was still growing my career is, like, for example, I worked as an engineer for about 5 years, okay? And there was once we went to the airport, and we were given, I used to work for a telecommunication company, all right? And we were given a project by Safaricom to install this, they're called masts.
Telecommunication masts.
Telecommunication masts, okay? Now, those masts have got equipment. Those equipment, that equipment must be housed, okay? So our work was to go and prefabricate houses to house the equipment, okay? So taking from the same technology, they're called modular houses, all right? Modular buildings, all right? So go on ground for you to have that, so that when CS Magoha says we have 100% transition,
yes,
we go on ground, we see the transition, all right? We don't go to ground and see pupils. You saw Afghanistan the other day, when American left Afghanistan, and you saw the airport. There was a caption where there was a picture, and Afghans were in.
Let's not make a lot of students are the ones just to make sure
exactly.
It's 100%.
Yes.
And perhaps to shift focus on the crowding itself.
Yeah.
The calendar now is not quite friendly.
Yeah.
We had 3 terms in a year. Now we have more than that.
Yeah.
And you find that 1 week or 2 weeks holiday, the students, the teachers, the subordinate staff, what about the fatigue? Have you noticed that? It's so crowded. Has it affected you?
Yes. Yes.
Because right now they have, what, 3-4 days?
Yes, it has.
They had a 1 week holiday.
Yeah.
The fatigue.
Yes,
Let's look at the human resource as well.
What maybe I can say on that is the moment, and there was a reason why we had these long holidays, so that the staff can steam off, okay? So you will find, because the system has started and people are starting to feel the pressure, okay? Soon towards the end of the year, you'll start seeing the reaction. When people are pressured from teachers and students, you'll start seeing the reaction. People will look for a place to steam off because of the pressure. Because you can't pump so much into a child. They will react, or they'll lose. Like, for example, you go to a class. We have just finished the first term, the first half of the term. Now we are getting into the second half. All right. Towards the end, you go to class in the afternoon, and you look and observe and see nobody's paying attention. The teacher is just teaching.
Yes.
All right. That's a negative recall. All right. However, we have to, I don't know what exactly will come out of it, because Magoha and his team, I think they were doing a simulation, and it may not have necessarily been critically looked at, on the impact, the negative impact that it will. And then now we have COVID. So combine the pressure, it's called what, the congestion in class, pressure of the term, then put COVID. Disaster. However, there's a solution.
Yes.
It's not that we know, as engineers we are taught you have to come up with solutions.
Yes, indeed. And there are some schools actually who have mental health classes, doctors. Yes. So this is my proposal and my opinion. Of course, number one, I mentioned it. Embrace virtual schools. All right. Like, for example, these upper classes, class 6, grade 6, 7, and 8, and even the high schools, all right? When they go home, they can be extended. Their term can be extended, at home. But it's extended virtually for those who are able to, okay? And it may not be implemented right now, but it's something that can be looked at in the future. 2, partner with private schools. That, if you do that, bring partners, private school stakeholders, sit down, say, guys, we have a problem. How do we sort it out? All right? What is your opinion? Because private schools, as we speak, have capacity. They have capacity to decongest. They have capacity. Better infrastructure.
Yes, and better infrastructure. They have capacity to implement the virtual classes. All right? They have that capacity. So we sit down and say, tell the CS Treasury, to allocate, or Parliament, to allocate, and now that it's in that context, to allocate a certain fund for private schools. Okay, a couple of them closed. If those private schools did not close, some of those pupils around there would have been absorbed. You get? Yes. So get Parliament to sit down and say, we have a crisis here. How do we sort it out? Let's allocate 10 billion for private schools. Now, how they will manage it? Of course, they sit down with stakeholders because they are educated. They know what they are doing. Okay, they're private school. I'm an engineer, so private school stakeholders they're chap. They're sharp. They know what they're doing. Okay, allow them to access those funds. Let them expand their schools, and let the government absorb. We have this code called NEMIS. You know how it works. You've heard of it.
Yes.
All right. You know how it works. Yeah. So we log in every child who comes to school. We admit, we log them into the NEMIS system. Okay. Once we log them in, from a private perspective, they may not be able to have much impact, but in the public aspect or sector, there is much impact. Why? Because they are able to allocate funds. Yeah, they know. Maybe Olekasasi or Kangemi Primary School or Turkana High School has got this number of people, okay, this number of pupils. So when they are allocating funds, they'll know we are sending funds to this number of pupils. That way, things will be able to run more.
We've talked about virtual learning, and of course, a lot of schools and universities, for that matter, have embraced it. Now we have CBC, which is more hands-on than the 844 system that we had, and now we are in the middle of a pandemic. What can you say in regards to the CBC curriculum and the COVID-19, now that we have to embrace technology and do things virtually, and we need things hands-on? You've also done thesis, so you know very well a lot is hands-on as opposed to virtual learning. Without compromising the quality of education.
Now, the guys who implemented the spirit of CBC, let me put it that way. The spirit of CBC had a good, or has a good heartbeat to it. All right. Why? Because, like, for example, when I was in primary school, I did home science. I did music. I did all those things. Yeah. Right now, actually, I have a studio. Yeah. I've invested a little bit in the entertainment industry, and that originated from the things that I learned when I was in primary school. So the spirit of CBC is good. Okay. However, I wouldn't have much per se to say on the relationship. I would want to continue supporting the government in what they're doing, but right now we look, because it's a vision that team had. Okay, the education team that came up with that, it's a vision that they had. Yeah, but we sit down and see how can we best implement it, okay, without compromising any challenges, including CBC, including COVID and the likes.
Of course, we are running out of time, but kindly touch on education amidst the COVID pandemic and ensuring that we do not overload our students, our teachers, and even our systems.
Say that again.
The COVID-19 pandemic, the education, the future of education.
Yes.
Right now, we are in the middle of a pandemic. What more could we be doing, or what else shall we do to ensure that we do not overload even our students, our teachers as well? You've talked about you have to make sure that at least yours have been vaccinated in the middle of a pandemic.
Yes. Maybe to touch on that, as much as right now the system is compressed, after 2023 it will ease. Okay, but between now and then, we need to look for mitigating factors that can be able to help.
Yes.
All right. So ideally, I would want to probably advise the stakeholders of the education industry to be able to just work with the government. Work with the government, do what they can be able to do in their capacity. But take that question to Parliament. all right? And now that I'm hoping to be a parliamentarian soon, hopefully in 2022, take that challenge to Parliament, because they're still sitting, okay? We have emergency funding and things like that, because it's all about money. Put more money, sort things out. Yes. And then above all, besides putting more money, ensure you have managers. Good managers. Separate core business of education and operations.
I like the way you put that point that, you know, a lot of private schools were shut down because of the COVID-19, and government channeling funds to those schools could help even other students from other schools. But there is accountability issue. Perhaps you can touch on that as we wind up.
Accountability issue. These days it's very easy, my brother.
And of course, you've also touched something on Parliament. But you know, anything on Parliament has to drag on.
Let me take you for a virtual journey. Go to the game, Karen. All right? Karen, you see Karen? There's a building there called the Game, all right? I hope I'm not advertising. But go there, then ground floor, basement, ground floor. You'll find a supermarket. They sell this, they're called what? These sporting things.
Sports apparel.
Sports apparel. Yes. When you go to that supermarket, no cash is transacted. You either do M-Pesa or you do what? Card. You swipe, all right? Or you can do bank transfer, but that's a long shot. But the point is they've removed cash, hard cash from the system, and it's working, all right? So the way you've said, how do you manage? Remove the hard cash. Right now, everything is digital, okay? Like, for example, we do our systems digitally. All right, we have a board of management. Okay, when things are done, we upload them digitally. Before a check is signed for money to be released, everything has to be looked at, ticked digitally. Okay, then the guy who is, or rather the signatories must not, it's not a must they're there. They can be able to digitally sign off things. Okay, so there was this if-miss. All right.
Yes.
Embrace that. All right. Private schools have got their own systems which are working, but now put them in, replicate the same in public schools. That way things will work.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. But we now, unfortunately, are out of time.
Yes.
Thank you so much for making time. We are looking at the progress of learning in institutions in the midst of a COVID-19 pandemic. We are welcoming our kids for the half-term, and of course, challenges there. Mugo talking about 100% transition, but as well as quality education. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ben Tronjue. I have been with an educationist here, Mr. George Mugo, and now we are going back to the Jumia, where Interior